We're back with a vengeance. So, more Yu-Gi-Oh! But not in the traditional sense. No silly, overcomplicated card games here. Just dull, undercomplicated RPG combat. For 15 minutes. Oh, I remember the Yu-Gi-Oh! Versus Pokemon wars of early elementary school. I was more on the Pokemon side of things, and I was the only one in my class who was, come to think of it. And then time passed, and then it got to the point where really nobody was a fan of either of them, because all the Yu-Gi-Oh! People weren't really inherently weebs, they just liked it because it was trendy, and then, given enough time, everybody just moved on to, I don't know, let's say, football, but I was still a fan of both things, at least somewhat. I was the last of the weebs. Okay, so here we got Medusa, we got a worm pillar, and something that looks like a background character from Billy and Mandy from one of those episodes where they go to hell. That's not just some ridiculous thing I pulled out of my ass. They would often go to hell in the show. Not just like in a mean go to hell, but like the actual physical location. Because the show was very rooted in the spooky and the ethereal, and good theme for a cartoon. I don't know how Karibo got to be just so completely useless. He's not doing any damage. I know there's equipment you can get later, maybe we can upgrade him in between levels, but something definitely got screwed up because he's leveling up the same as everybody else, but he's not doing any damage. I think he needs an item. By chance, did you ever watch the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime, viewer? I did, for the first generation, and then after that they started introducing new characters and new rules and new locales and all that, and I've never been particularly responsive to change, so that was just kind of the end of it. But from what I've seen, it sounds like they did lots of, fun stuff in the new generations. The writers didn't really take it seriously, so you had characters like Hip Hop Goku, as the fans call him. Oh, down goes Celtic Guardian. That's our first monster death of the series. Thankfully, it's not permanent, though. But anyway, yeah, in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime, they made a new character who the fans referred to as a Hip-Hop Goku. Let me see if I can find that for you. Okay, I looked, and apparently the clip got taken down, because of course it did. But the gist of it was, there was a character in the second generation of Yu-Gi-Oh! Who was played by the same voice actor who voiced Goku, and he would say very stereotypical hip-hop lines like, "My homie." Obviously, it was a lot funnier when he said it. You'll just have to use your imagination. Okay, so hopefully these guys fare better, after Yu-Gi-Oh!'s team just completely sucked shit. I don't know what was going on with Karibo. Hey, wait a minute, did I call him Yu-Gi-Oh! Instead of Yugi a minute ago? Oh god, I've committed the most normie of errors. I got the name of the show and the name of the character mixed up. That's like something somebody's 55-year-old mom would do. Good god, I can do better than that. It's embarrassing. I'm giving myself a flashback to my younger days when I'd try to explain all of my artistic hobbies to just normie adults who really had no chance of understanding what they were or what they meant. Like, picture the most normie adult you can think of, like picture Dr. Phil, for example. Imagine Dr. Phil trying to intervene in the life of a Yu-Gi-Oh! Player.
Now, you got all these hundreds of characters, and they each do a different thing. Now, I understand why that would appeal to you, young man, but at some point you need to get a job so that you don't end up living out of your car.
I gotta come up with a punchline. And then, and then before the Yu-Gi-Oh player can respond, Al-Qaeda blows up Dr. Phil's studio and kills everybody inside. The end. So anyway, speaking of Dr. Phil, I don't know if I really support the idea that, he always sends those troubled youths off to those camps where they try to turn their lives around, and in theory it sounds like a good idea, but we know a bit more about those types of places now than we did back then, and there's a lot of abuse that goes on at those types of places, so maybe Dr. Phil shouldn't be sending so many people there. But I don't know, I'm just a guy who makes Let's Plays for the entertainment of 2 people. I don't really think this is the place to say such a thing. Okay, we did it. We cleared out the windmill. Let's sing a song about windmills to celebrate.
Windmill, 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 windmill.
There we go, buddy. That definitely had some windmills in it. So anywho, I'm gonna try and put a new healing station in the center of the map. That's a much smarter location for it, so that we don't have to trek all the way back to the starting point. Like that one guy who makes city planning videos and he had to walk 6 miles to work across all those lawns. Lots of walking involved, and thankfully we won't have to be like that guy, because we've got a new healing location. Okay, and with our party all rested up, let's just keep doing what we've been doing. In hindsight, we probably should have sent a different team over there, since it's already been established that Karibo's kinda useless at this point, but at a minimum they can soften up who's ever hiding in there. Go pound on the doors. So anyway, on the topic of Yu-Gi-Oh!, thinking back to the Pokemon vs. Yu-Gi-Oh! Wars of the early 2000s and looking at them now with adult eyes, I guess I realized that Pokemon kinda won that one. And you know why that is? It's because Yu-Gi-Oh! Never quite achieved a cultural, critical mass, as it were. And what I mean by that is, it never quite got to the point where it was being parodied by just about everyone. Because, Pokemon at the height of its popularity was getting parodied all the time. You had, Mad Magazine parodying it, although that's not much of an achievement. They made fun of everything. The Simpsons parodied... fucking Jesus, I can't talk today. And South Park definitely parodied it. Blah. But with Yu-Gi-Oh!, there really weren't any Yu-Gi-Oh! Parodies, per se. I know at least one, but it's not really anything notable or anything that anyone cared about. It was Rugrats All Grown Up did a Yu-Gi-Oh! Parody, but again, that doesn't count for anything. That's just boomers trying to stay hip. So yeah, I guess in a sense Pokemon was the more popular thing of the early 2000s, because it was getting parodied by everybody. You know what I mean? This new wave of enemies, by the way, is a bit different than the previous ones. These guys don't mess around. You got the guy in the middle's got a Captain Falcon mask. These guys came here to party. So, we lost one guy, and they lost one guy. The pendulum swings back and forth. One could say we're too evenly matched. Like they said on that one commercial with the 2 karate masters exchanging yo mama jokes, and it ends with one of them saying, "We are too evenly matched." By chance, does anybody remember what that was a commercial for? It's been probably almost 20 years since that was on television, but I remember seeing that commercial on either Cartoon Network or Nickelodeon at some point. Wonder what that was for. Okay, so Yugi's team's still heading over there. That they were supposed to go first, but our overworld sprite doesn't move as fast, so that didn't quite work out. And instead, let's put him on an easier job. A sudden change of plans, as it were. Meanwhile, the other team is going back to heal. And we've been here for so gosh darn long that it's switched from night to day. I didn't even know that was gonna happen when I was getting this gameplay. Seems rather reminiscent of the day and night system in Ocarina of Time, doesn't it? That is a more primitive day and night system where there isn't an actual system clock that it references. It's just a predefined event. It's always more impressive when it actually looks at the system's time to figure out if it should be day or night, based on whether or not it's day or night in real life. The first time I saw something like that in Pokemon Crystal, I was so damned impressed. I was just a wee little boy, and look at this. When it becomes night in real life, it becomes night in the game. I could hardly believe what I was seeing. And then it's equally impressive that emulators of systems that use that same feature can do it just as well. So you can just close the emulator and come back to it 6 hours later, and again, it'll look at the Windows system time instead of, what would have been a Game Boy Color system time, and use that to figure out what time it needs to be in the emulated copy of Pokemon Crystal. There are some brilliant people working out there on the emulators of the world. Talented programmers doing their very best to ensure that things get preserved. Okay, I decided to team up on this dinosaur first of all. The optimum strategy seems to be to just dogpile on one guy and just kinda, take him out one at a time. When you spread out your efforts, you don't really seem to get anywhere. Alright, so now we have to take everything we just did and do it a second time. It's like that meme with Goofy where he says, "I'll fucking do it again." Or in this case, the game is saying to us, "You'll fucking do it again." This is what they call excessive padding. Modern games don't have this kind of issues with padding. I mean, some do, but overall it's not as big of an issue as it used to be. I remember during the 6th gen, it was practically in every game you'd have all this bullshit where they make you do it twice, like Lara Croft has to turn the crank and then walk 5 feet and then turn the other crank, and they just make you do things multiple times to pad out the game. Modern games only kind of do that with Square Enix RPGs, where they just slow you down with a bunch of pointless bullshit. I know there was that clip where Conan O'Brien tried to play Final Fantasy 15, and he got sucked up into some boring, pointless side quest about trying to find a dress, and yeah, that kind of stuff. That's what we call needless padding. Okay, so we've almost got him. We just gotta take out that wacky evil teddy bear like that thing from that one episode of Teen Titans, for those of you who remember that. I'm actually gonna cut out the third fight with this team just for the sake of expediency, so that we're not here all day. I mean, for God's sakes, almost this entire series has been in fast forward, and even then it's just outright glacial. If I hadn't fast-forwarded through all this footage, this would have been a 25-minute episode. No, really, it would have. I feel like they're trying to emulate the pacing of the show in a sense by making things so utterly slow. For those of you who saw the anime back in the day, sometimes they'd just have filler episodes where they would just drag things out to a painful extent. Like, famously, there was that one episode where Yugi and Kaiba got in a card battle, and throughout the entire 22-minute episode, not a single person did one attack on the other. It was 22 straight minutes of, I'm gonna do this thing, no wait, I have this thing that counters your thing, then the next turn it's flipped, and I have this thing that counters your thing. On one hand, that's pretty lazy writing, but then on the other hand, you really gotta commend them. You gotta know the rules of Yu-Gi-Oh! Pretty damn well to be able to construct a game like that. I mean, that is just madness, because everything in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime is replicatable in the card game. Well, aside from in the first season. The first season they were still trying to figure stuff out, so occasionally there'd just be this This weird moment where you think, hey, that's not something I can do as I'm following along. This is supposed to teach me how to play Yu-Gi-Oh! And you're doing shit that's not even possible in the card game. But in the later seasons, they got away from that. So to wrap up my point, you'd really have to know Yu-Gi-Oh! Well in order to write out an episode like that, in which there's just 22 minutes of nobody attacking. And there you have it. That was the last strike of the episode. We finally cleared this place out of all those filthy... Anyway, and our reward for doing so is we're gonna unlock a new team captain. There it is. There's Tristan, the 4th team captain. I knew a guy in real life named Tristan, and I hated him. Tristan, if you're watching this, you can eat a dick. So anyway, yeah, that's probably enough Yu-Gi-Oh! If you haven't figured out how this game works at this point, I think you got some problems.